Hit me.
All right, welcome to this week's edition of the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. We're talking to musician Royston Langdon today, who is coming out with a reimagining of his band Spacehog's hit album Resident Alien. It's being called President Alien, and the album is a collection of stripped down versions of songs from that album. It's coming out July 14th. Royston, I'm glad to have you on. I'm glad you're doing well, except for
Thank you.
We did discuss it off camera that he had a boxing injury. I don't know how much you want to talk about that, but
Well, I don't really want to talk about it, frankly. I mean, put it this way: this was really just the fight was great, no problem. It wasn't actually the fight. I came out on top on that one. It was afterwards when I was getting in the shower, believe it or not.
Oh my God.
I actually walked into a glass shower door. So, that was...
And did some damage to his face.
The fight itself was a resounding success. I mean,
the fight against the glass window, not so much.
Not so much, yeah.
It's amazing.
Or as I like to call him, the Invisible Man.
Yeah, you get out of the ring, you do great, and how you hurt yourself, showering.
There you go. That's just, it's what we call the law of sod.
See, we also, as older guys, because you and I are about a year apart, we have to also be a little more careful these days.
We do, man. Definitely a bit Jerry these days.
I love that expression.
Yeah.
Let's talk about President Alien. Where did the idea come from, and what compelled you to tackle that album in this manner?
Well, thanks for asking. It sort of came out because it sort of started because I wound up back in England during COVID, and when that first kicked off, and my family were there, and my son, and I ended up staying there and sort of essentially, moving back there for the first time since I left in 1994. So a lot had changed, but also the whole world had changed because of COVID and what that did to everybody. And, I started doing this Patreon thing eventually, because first of all, I started just playing at my mum's house on the piano on like Facebook Live and Instagram and all that. And it seemed to really soothe people, who were like a bit stressed at the time because the whole world was dying,
Yeah.
So I found that, cathartic for myself too, especially being back in England. So, and then it just looked like, that I was supposed to go back to New York to do a record with this guy, Steven Sollins, who I play bass on his record and other things sometimes, but he's great. And I was doing that with Bryce Goggin, who did this record, who mixed it, and did Resident Alien actually too. Right? That was sort of how it started really. And then I started doing a song a month it was part of my Patreon thing. It seemed to be like they wanted to be a community around this thing. And, my gig that I had in New York was cancelled because of the thing. And so I just stayed in England and I'm really grateful to my Patreon supporters for that, because they really helped support me at that time and get that sort of underway and get it going. And now it's, coming out. It's really exciting. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's all sort of because of that in a way, and because of the collective, consciousness that the people that were involved with it had. It was great.
Yeah. And the original album, I mean, is rather iconic at this point. You guys were such a big part of the late 90s alternative scene, and you really brought a certain style and sophistication that was kind of interesting for back then. I mean,
sophistication.
well,
I've been
look,
to Leeds.
Look, so anything almost
That was
almost
for
any-
Richard Butler.
almost
Richard, that was a joke for
anything
Richard
British is sophisticated to us Americans.
Butler. Yeah, right.
But they're not like,
Well-
you know, just a certain panache, a certain cool. You know, you really kind of had that cool glam vibe. Obviously, you were, you know, inspired.
I'm the original white trash, man. We are the, you know, from England, the original white trash. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that sounds about right.
Nothing, you know, nothing else, including royalty, by the way. We're the worst. They come in gangs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't even know what I was getting at.
I don't.
I was just kind of.
Were you a
guess
gang or something?
I was just being complimentary. I think I don't think I really
thanks,
had a
man.
question there, but
Fair enough.
with what I've heard so far off of President Alien, it's a different vibe. Obviously, it's very cool. What are you expecting people to take away, I guess, from it, from this reimagining of that album?
That's a really good question. Well, hopefully a sort of sense of peace. I mean, I think, you know, because that record was part of many people's lives, I suppose I'm grateful for that. I appreciate that. And I appreciate those people, you know. I think there's a way for us to sort of, you know, realign in another way, in another time, I suppose, or, you know, and that's what it was for me, because I approached them as the songs that I wrote, you know, or was, you know, a part of making for that record, you know.
Yeah.
But you got to remember that much of that stuff came from prior to being in New York or ever meeting the guys from Spacehog, apart from my brother, obviously.
Yeah.
So, you know, so when I was reapproaching it, I suppose I wasn't reapproaching because I wrote the songs and they've always been a part of them. So it wasn't like I went back to Resident Alien and listened to that per se and said, oh, how am I going to do this? You know, it was really much more a sort of meditation on the song and keeping it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
And not, and sort of, you know, avoiding sort of the obvious thing of filling in these things and just letting that be the thing. So, you know, I suppose maybe for some people might find that intriguing to sort of, having gone, you know, around the sun a few times,
Right.
come back again and go, oh, this is like interesting to hear that now. And it's a whole different thing. I mean, and also each song unto itself, I think what's great about President Alien, if I dare say on its own, is that although they are sort of just me on the guitar for the most part, it's very much a sort of a shared experience. You know,
Yeah.
it was a shared experience doing it, and I think so. Hopefully, people will get that, whether they, you know, download it, stream it, whatever. Oh, the vinyl's coming out, which I'm really excited about, because, you know, I've always worked on making, you know, I've always been into sound, you know, generally, and I think it's really important, and I really love it. You know, I put this record out under the name Leeds, where I'm from, called Everything's Dandy, a while back, and nobody's heard that one. But
yeah,
I made it on vinyl. I only made 300. I think they're all sold out.
Okay.
Might be at my. I think they're gone. But it was an experiment in sort of, you know, not having any outside influence at all, and it worked really well. I think it's quite a good record.
Yeah.
Two.
Yeah. No. Well, yeah. One, like I said, what I've heard so far, I really dig. I mean, I was a fan of Spacehog, so. I mean,
Yeah, Leeds is
kinda
good though,
natural.
man. Check
I'll
out
have to,
Leeds too.
I'll have to find a way to listen to it. Is it? You said all the vinyl's sold out, but is it available for streaming or anything?
Yeah, it's on Spotify and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Yeah,
I'll have
yeah.
to check it out.
Everything you have to check. Everything's dandy, because otherwise it's just loads of sort of Leeds football anthems come up, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that. I'm not. I wish I could
Leeds
remember
United.
Well, I'm not very much into sports, so.
No, me neither. But really,
Well,
no.
I have to. Well, number one, let me go back to President Alien. We always encourage everyone to purchase the album. You know, if we're talking about an album or go see a movie in the theater, or what have you. So, buy President Alien.
Yes,
but
yes. By President Alien. There's many supporters behind this thing, and you know, we used to have these. But it's unfortunately, or whatever. I mean, in terms of his life, an amazing life. I'm sad to see him go, but only in the sense that his sort of kind and sort of non-existent these days. Seymour Stein, who was really behind Spacehog and Resident Alien, and so yeah, it's a sort of a dedication to him too. And I also made a recording with a friend out in Texas of "To Sir with Love." That I made for Seymour, and I started making it way before I knew that he was going to pass. And he'd asked me to do it way back in the 90s, and I didn't quite understand why. And then I did it, and I now understand. And then strangely, I finished it, or more or less, it's not mixed yet, but finished recording it, I think. And he passed away.
Yeah.
Strangely.
That had to have been hard, because I mean, Seymour really got involved with all of his artists.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's that dying of that, you know, the real patron, you know, the patron of the arts, and he really was. And you know, the old form of the record industry, you know, for instance, provided Spacehog with an opportunity via Seymour to do something like Resident Alien, which would be very hard to do today, you know, because of the way that the infrastructure works of the music industry for bands and artists alike, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's
the
not really my
changed.
realm.
Yeah,
I just sort of make the music really, and I'm really grateful to this guy Bob Frank who's putting this out. He put out the previous Chains thing EP I did, and you know, yeah, there's a bunch of Resident Aliens out on vinyl, and so's the Chinese album, and now President Alien will be too. So quite cool. Quite excited about it.
Very cool. Well, yeah, well, I was going to ask you. We were talking about soccer anthems, and both of us are not fans of sport. What was that like for you growing up in Leeds, not being, you know, a football fan?
I'm glad you asked, man. It was very scary. Very scary. I was a young 7-year, well, probably maybe by about 8-9-year-old. I was navigating the center of Leeds on my own between where I was, you know, where I had to go and then get the bus from. There was a little gauntlet to run. And there was, funnily enough, I was talking to a friend of mine just a couple of days ago about this, and there was this gauntlet between there and the bus stop. Was a pub. I can't remember the name of the pub, but it was a National Front, and I hate to say it because, you know, they're just idiots and bigots and bullies, you know.
Yeah.
But they would attack us sometimes. We was kids, you know.
Yeah.
Skinheads with the. That's why I have an aversion to Dr. Martin boots, because you know, they'd be coming after me at high speed. So that was a bit scary, to say the least, you know. There was many good things about, you know, there's more sort of rural aspects to Yorkshire too.
Yeah.
So quite like sometimes.
Well, you talked about going back for during the pandemic. What was that experience like for you? Being back home, I mean, literally back home, compared to when you left. I mean, you left so long ago. I mean, obviously you've been back and forth, I'm sure, but to be living back home, what was that feeling like?
Oh, well, as I said, I think when I was there, it was sort of a hyper normal time because of the pandemic. It was just really idyllic because there's no one around. And I was in the part of the rural part of Yorkshire, really on the gateway to the sort of Yorkshire Dales, which I love. Sort of like the Yorkshire Dales. So, was a really great space to be back. As I say, a lot of those songs I wrote, I put a lot of time in other bands before I ever got to Spacehog in England.
Yeah.
And a lot of those ideas were sort of formed there in different ways at different sort of stages. Particularly over a period between sort of being 19 to when I got to New York when I was 21. And that was when I realized that the band wasn't good enough that I was in England. I needed to keep going, And that's ultimately when I met Johnny Craig, and my brother had met him a few days before I arrived in New York. And he said, "Oh man, you got to meet this guy. He works at this coffee shop on 2nd Avenue. We were living at 64 2nd Avenue, which was on 4th Street and 2nd, and Johnny was working on 6th Street and 2nd. So, we went in there, and that's where I met him. Even though the guy that played in my band in England and his singer of his band, the Hollow Man, lived together in England. I never met Johnny until.
Wow.
So that was a big thing, meeting Johnny. And Johnny was, he's a great character drummer. He's not the greatest drummer, technically, I suppose, but
right.
he's got a real character, and I think that all sort of great bands sort of tend to have that,
Yeah. Well, feel is oftentimes better than technical ability.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It explains the Ramones,
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
One of the biggest thrills I had this year, I went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and In the Meantime is featured in a pretty big scene. I don't know how much of a Marvel fan you are, but was the feedback on that pretty cool?
Oh yeah, really cool, man. It's wild, what that does, and the power of Marvel to connect people around the planet again. I think In the Meantime it went back into the charts.
That's cool.
Around in different countries, So, and it's a positive message. It's one that I feel, is a really good message today, and one that's really important still. And the fact that it has this life of its own is really fun,
Yeah.
And there are other sides to that too. That I don't have control over it anymore. I don't have that. So, in terms of my will, it's unfortunately, for the time being anyway, for a while actually, is out of the picture.
Yeah.
On what it gets used for and all that sort of thing. So, and that's a bit weird in some ways, but it's also kind of cool, actually. I think it's better in some ways for me because it's got a life of its own, that song. And
Yeah.
and it's great, and I'm really grateful for it. And you know, I've been told I need to be singing it every night, you know, for my supper, and I ought to be, really. But
Yeah,
I wish I was.
yeah.
I like singing it, and you know, I've been out on the road and I've played it on my own. I was doing this on. I've been playing on my own for a long time. You know, been doing that now since probably about 2019, 2018, when the Leeds record came out. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm quite into playing on my own. I've got my head around that. I've done it quite a bit now. But it feels like, you know, sort of time we were talking about, you know, maybe sort of this time next year doing Spacehog thing, show, seeing how that goes. But it would have to be around something, I think, you know, and what that is. Like working with my brother Anthony again on something called Cain and Abel, which has been really fun, sort of breaking things apart, just beginning that process really. So we'll see if that has legs or not.
Yeah.
But one way or another, I think it's really important to sort of, you know, to play, you know. So I enjoy performance very much, in a different way to how I did when I was younger. I did not enjoy it so much when I was, you know, younger.
Yeah. Is that because of expectations put on you, or the rapid success, I guess, you had from, you know, start to, you didn't have that kind of buffer where you were building up to it, or what were your reasons for not liking
I don't think I had a really good support system then, man, when I was younger. I had some really great people around me, you know, who were very good at their jobs and not, you know, in some ways you sort of have to fail to succeed, you know, first. And we didn't have the sort of tenacity of connection in the band, you know, to do that, because we'd not really been together that long. I mean, Richard joined the band I went to JFK with Johnny to pick him up on the subway. And that was the 28th of December, 1994. And then by New Year, we were playing, and we'd played for Seymour at the Mercury Lounge, and it wasn't a very good show. I think it was Richard's, one of his first shows, if not first show. So he said, "Oh, come see us again," and he did. You know, and we actually ended up doing loads of. Our manager at the time was keen for us to sort of like run that gambit of different labels, and you know, there was all this sort of thing. It was a very different time in New York. You know, we were right in the heart of the music industry, you know, in a way. But we were not. I mean, my work was, I worked in a recording studio, and that's how I met Bryce Gargan, who you know, did Present and now this record and all that, you know. So you know, speaking of the Ramones, he was working with the Ramones and those guys when I came in. That's how I recognized his greatness, you know, and we've been working together ever since.
Yeah, he's done a lot of really cool things. I would imagine that your connection with him is probably among your strongest musically with anybody. I mean, maybe your brother above that, but.
Well, I mean, it's not a sort of an Olympian thing. So they're different things, you know. My relationship with Bryce is very different. I mean, it's I love my relationship with him. We're very close, you know. We have been for a long time. Families grew up together, you know, my kids. We have he has a daughter and I have a son at the same age, you know. We've watched each other's kids grow up. It's a really beautiful thing, you know. It's a deep connection that we have, and it's one based on trust, you know, that I'm really fortunate to have, because whether people hear my music now or not, you know, I feel good about it, how it sounds and how it feels, you know, which is really important to me. And Bryce has been a great ally in that, more so than anybody, because he understands that, you know, it all comes from the work, and in this case, these recordings, you know, over this time. So yeah, he's a great man, and you know, in his own right, and he's you know, he speaks for himself. He's worked with, as you say, with others. It speaks for itself.
Yeah.
What's it like?
What's it like having your child, your son, being essentially an adult now? I mean, you know, is it weird to think that, you know, here's this kid that, you know, is now around your age when you jumped ship to New York, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, those are things that I think all fathers and mothers, parents, are, you know, connected to. It's my experience with him, you know. I mean, to some extent, that's sort of personal because it's between the two of us, you know. And I mean, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
No, I get you. I don't want to pry too much. I was trying to go for something general, but you know,
what do you mean?
Like, no, I just mean like, you know, is it just
seeing myself again in a way? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. There's some of that, man. Definitely. Yeah. The great thing is, you know, hopefully we get to redo it. You know, we do ourselves in a better way. You know, and I think I'm really so blessed on that front. I mean, just beyond, you know, I mean, I can't, you know, that's the words are not signposts enough to point to where that is, you know, for me in my heart, you know.
Yeah. No, I hear
you. Yeah.
You know, one thing I've noticed, and like I said before when we talked, you know, I feel like we've talked before, but like I said, I couldn't remember for sure. But your whole manner is very relaxing. Like I feel super relaxed just talking to you for some reason. Have you always been this kind of relaxed, or is this something you've achieved over time?
Oh no, yeah. No, I'm not always this relaxed. I wasn't always this relaxed. I'm still not always this relaxed. I mean, you know, it's a daily process, you know, to be present, really. I think more than relaxed, but just, you know, in order to receive, you know, I'm a songwriter, so it's important that I can hear those things and that, you know, that's my work, you know, that's my work today. And it's difficult because certain aspects for me are, you know, are not there that were. So it's a commitment to something that, you know, sometimes one doesn't feel inclined towards, even because it's such a vocation, you know.
Yeah. No.
So, but I think I can do it well. So rather me than somebody who's a bit more shoddy, shall we say? And don't you think?
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, however you get there is what's, you know, important.
I can do it, man. I can do it. You know, so I think I'm going to do it. I'm working on things right now. I mean, I'm in the studio on Thursday onwards, so working on some new things, and yeah.
Is there? Do you kind of have a schedule for working? Like, do you get up in the morning, you know, have a routine, and then like set aside time to either just play or try to write, or how does that work?
Well, it depends really it depends what I'm doing. I mean, I keep a book. I've always sort of had a book
Yeah.
with a pen.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. But
You haven't
you
gone
could look at
electronic.
that. And well, I use electronics, yeah, for
No, I
certain
meant
things, yeah.
where you're writing instead of you use an actual
Oh, I mean,
physical.
no, I will. I use my voice recorder in the car. I use that a lot actually. That's a lot. I've always found the car to be a really good place to come up with ideas.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or traveling generally, actually. By on one's own. The saddest pleasure. I think that's what Shakespeare said it was, traveling alone.
I'll take your word for it. I'm not as well versed in Shakespeare as I should be.
I'm not sure he literally said it like that, so don't quote me on that.
No,
but that's what I feel he was implying. Maybe not actually. Yeah. Maybe that's just my inference. In which case, ignore me.
You're good. So you're in California. How long are you staying in the States now, or is this just a stopover until you go back to England?
I don't have any plans to go back to England right now. As much as I, like to play there, I don't really, I don't really need to go there.
Yeah, you've spent you've spent more of your life here than there.
Yeah, I have. I feel like, I'm an immigrant, and I like that. I'm a first generation American, in some ways. And I'm a founding father as well. I am. I'm just, I'm just happen to be through many different ages.
Yeah. What are you most looking forward to in the next year?
Next year?
Well, I mean, what are you looking to achieve in the next year?
Oh, I'm not looking to achieve anything, man. No, I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Anything. Do you have a goal? Do you have something you're looking to do? I mean, it could literally be anything that you have on the horizon that you're looking to forward to doing or have happen.
Well, I really hope to remain healthy. I mean, but there's no guarantee for that one.
Yeah.
I hope to remain, in love with myself.
Okay.
And not in a vain way or a narcissistic way, but in a evolving way.
Okay.
Interested in myself. Just making sure that I'm present, hopefully for my family, and having some sort of sense of integrity and balance throughout the coming year. I'd like to connect with people musically out there. I don't know quite what that looks like right now. As I say, I feel this sort of Cain and Abel thing has it's not completely theatrical. It's not like a theatrical thing, but it has a sort of an element of theater, but also sort of all sorts of things. I feel like what I want to do is a sort of third act for me. It's a sort of bringing together of everything that I've done in one place, under one roof, and sort of. I think it's good that Anthony and I, because we've shared a life together, and we've been through these extraordinary experiences, not just with Spacehog, but prior to that as kids, and growing up through that adolescence and all sorts of, successes and failures, that any human undergoes, and but we have a sort of lateral ability to look at each other because we've walked the same road.
Right.
However, that has we have different perspectives of similar things. Do you know what I mean? But it's not the same. We're very different people in many ways. He's much more wound up, which is difficult for him. He's finding it difficult to. He always has, though. But some of that energy is really partly what was great about Spacehog, back then, and also what's still good about Spacehog in a way, the energy behind that,
Yeah.
And it's great. It's true with all bands, all good, all great bands,
Yeah.
Artists, painters, dancers,
Yeah. Well, is
Whatever.
that something because you guys were kind of dormant for a bit, and you're considering where that's possibly going in the future, is it hard to fight against expectations? Like, I mean, people going to see your shows, they remember you for a moment in time, say, and then you're talking about that energy. Well, you guys aren't 20-something year old kids anymore. You're mature older men, and it's gonna be a different vibe, even if you play the notes the same, and everything. It's gonna be a different experience. There's no way to be the person you were in your 20s after 30 odd years or whatever of growth.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's why I don't know if we can even do it. I mean, because we can't give up the people that we've become,
Right.
And thank God,
Yeah.
And we're all different. Johnny's like a shrink now in San Francisco. It's amazing. He's gone and done a whole other life. I'm so proud of him. So life carries on, and does for us all in our own way. Nobody knows anything about anybody, really. But however, for what that thing is, I don't know what that thing is today is not clear yet, because we haven't all come together in that way. And whether or not we decide to do that, I think we will. I think we are doing that, and I think that's really important that we do that. Actually, even if it's just so we're friendly and we're friends, because like with my brother, at least with Johnny and Richard, they're my brothers as well. We've been through this other experience that is, extraordinary. And, I don't know, maybe there's something in that, coming back to that as old men, older men, middle-aged men, white middle-aged men, the devil. Guaylos.
What I was going to say, actually, though, is that I think it would also be cool just to see what the new energy is, and I think that's why
could be a bit Jerry, man. Could be a bit Jerry.
Maybe it's just maybe everybody folds back into the. Well, you're fine. You were boxing someone. Your only villain is a glass wall.
Yeah, no. Wait till you see the documentary, man, on my boxing work. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah.
So I was going to stop.
It's a whole East End character that exists.
I'm intrigued. What got you into boxing? Because we talked earlier about not being a fan of sport, but this is obviously different for you.
Well, listen, I'd have to get him here on that interview, man. That's a different interview. You know what I mean? Oh yeah. All right.
Well, maybe when the doc comes on, we'll talk again.
Well, yeah. It's one of my alter egos, man. You got to remember.
All right.
Okay, so he's not here right now.
Gotcha.
He's actually playing soccer. So.
Look at you adopting the American term.
Exactly. What? There's nothing annoys them more in England than that.
Yeah, I still don't know why the hell we called football when there was a sport called football already. But you know, Americans.
Same reason, man. Because you can.
Yeah, Americans just have a habit of just doing whatever the hell they want.
It's part of the brand.
Yeah, definitely on brand. Yeah. All right. Well, Royston, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm really relaxed. I don't know what.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Maybe go and have a little lay down or something. Go meditate. Go meditate. Yeah. That's I'll be doing now. In fact, I might just stay here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going in.
But President Alien comes out the 14th of July. Purchase it. It's going to be out on vinyl. Buy that. Look for new things, the Cain and Abel project, and anything else that you got going on.
Well, Royston, that will be out for a bit, man. Yeah, President Alien, man. Listen to the voice.
Yeah.
The frequencies. You know, it's 100 cycles on the left ear and 104 on the right. Okay.
Okay. What does that mean?
You'll know when you hear it.
Okay, I'll have to listen with headphones.
It's not comprehensible in words.
Okay.
It's an audio.
It's a metaphysical thing.
Exactly. Now you're getting it. Yes.
All right.
Now you're getting it.
All right. I'll have to revisit this interview to get in that headspace, I think. All right. Thank you very much for your time, Royston. Have a great rest of your day. And
I love it.
Make sure to take care of yourself. And no more glass walls.
Hey, sometimes we need the wall, man. You know.
All right.
Don't be afraid of the wall.
Yeah. You take care of yourself, okay?
You too.
Bye. Thank you. All right. Bye.